Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just a financier who committed horrific crimes. He was the center of a web that connected the most powerful people in politics, business, and royalty. From presidents to princes, tech billionaires to media moguls, Epstein's network reads like a who's who of the global elite. Recent document releases have shed new light on these relationships, especially Epstein's long friendship with Donald Trump. We now know they socialized for decades, attended each other's parties, and shared a social circle that included some of the most influential people in the world. Today, we're mapping Epstein's secret web, who was in it, how it operated, and what it reveals about power and influence at the highest levels. This isn't just about one man's crimes. It's about a system that allowed those crimes to continue for decades. Let's dive in. Jeffrey Epstein's rise to wealth and influence remains one of the great mysteries of modern finance. In the 1970s, he was a math teacher at an elite Manhattan prep school. By the 1980s, he was managing money for billionaires and building a network that would span decades. Epstein claimed to only work with clients worth over $1 billion, but his actual business model was never clear.
Among them, the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Former associates described him as secretive about his finances, often claiming to manage money for wealthy families while living a lifestyle that seemed to exceed even billionaire standards. His properties told the story of his ambitions. A massive Manhattan townhouse previously owned by the founder of Victoria's Secret, a private Caribbean island nicknamed File Island by locals, a ranch in New Mexico, a Paris apartment. Each became a hub for entertaining the powerful and influential. But Epstein's real currency wasn't money, it was access. He positioned himself as a connector, a facilitator who could bring together people who wanted to meet each other. Scientists, politicians, academics, business leaders, all were drawn into his orbit. What they didn't know or chose to ignore was that Epstein was also using these gatherings to facilitate his crimes against young women and girls.
Because, Jeffrey Epstein should be spoken about, and they should speak about them, because they don't talk about them, they talk about me. I have nothing to do with the guy.
By the way, I never went to the island. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
One of Epstein's most significant relationships was with Donald Trump. Their relationship appeared to stretch back to the 1980s, when both were prominent figures in New York's social scene. In the 1990s, Epstein owned a large Palm Beach mansion just down the road from Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The proximity wasn't coincidental. Both men moved in the same elite Palm Beach circles, attending the same parties and social events. Trump flew on Epstein's jets between Palm Beach and New York, according to flight logs. They socialized at each other's properties. In February 2000, Epstein and Maxwell attended a celebrity tennis tournament at Mar-a-Lago. Epstein brought along Prince Andrew, who was photographed with Trump and his then girlfriend Melania Knauss, now known as Melania Trump. Jeffrey Epstein is seen at Donald Trump and Marla Maples' wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York in 1993. This wasn't just casual acquaintance. Epstein was invited to one of Trump's most personal moments. The pair, sometimes joined by now First Lady Melania Trump and Epstein's ex Ghislaine Maxwell, frequented Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate and Epstein's Manhattan apartment. The New York Times reported that in 1992, Mar-a-Lago played host to a calendar girl competition that Epstein helped organize. The event reportedly involved Trump, Epstein, and about 28 young women, an early indicator of the kind of gatherings that would later become central to Epstein's criminal activities. In 2002, Trump gave a now infamous quote to New York Magazine. "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." This wasn't just casual friendship. It was public endorsement of a man who was already suspected of inappropriate behavior with young women. Testifying at Maxwell's trial in New York, the woman, identified by the pseudonym Jane, said that she met Trump in the 1990s at his Mar-a-Lago resort after being introduced by Epstein when she was only 14 years old. This testimony suggests Epstein was introducing underage girls to Trump as early as the 1990s, a deeply troubling allegation that highlights the criminal nature of Epstein's social gatherings. Trump wasn't Epstein's only high-profile connection. The financier cultivated relationships with some of the most powerful people in the world, creating a network that spanned politics, business, and royalty. Epstein was also a longtime acquaintance of Prince Andrew and Tom Barrack, and attended parties with many prominent people, including Bill Clinton. Flight logs show Clinton took multiple trips on Epstein's private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express by the media. These weren't just casual flights. Clinton reportedly flew with Epstein to his private island and to Africa for Clinton's foundation work. The relationship raised questions about what Clinton knew about Epstein's activities and when he knew it. Britain's Prince Andrew, pictured in 2021, is listed as a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey accused Andrew of sexually abusing her 2 decades ago when she was 17, an allegation the prince called baseless. The case was settled in 2022. The Prince Andrew connection was extraordinarily damaging because it involved direct allegations of abuse, not just association. According to the documents, Schoberg said she witnessed Jeffrey, then 17, in Epstein's New York mansion with Andrew, Epstein, and Maxwell. Another one of Epstein's significant relationships was with Microsoft founder Bill Gates. Their connection began in 2011 after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor, meaning that Gates knew about Epstein's criminal record when he chose to associate with him.
Would you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
What was the crime of which you were convicted?
2 counts. One, soliciting prostitution and procuring a minor for prostitution.
Did you in fact commit those acts?
I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Have you ever solicited a minor for prostitution anywhere at any time?
Again, I'm going to assert my right.
According to reports, Gates and Epstein met at least 6 times between 2011 and 2013, and perhaps as many as dozens of times as late as 2014. Gates later told CNN he only met with Epstein in hopes of raising money for global health issues, saying, "He knows a lot of rich people."
Can you explain your relationship with Epstein? Did you have any concerns? Was there ever any concerns you had about it?
Oh, certainly. You know, I had several dinners with him, hoping that what he said about getting billions of philanthropy for global health through contacts that he had might emerge. When it looked like that wasn't a real thing, that relationship ended. But it was a huge mistake to spend time with him, to give him the credibility of, being there. There were lots of others in that same situation, but I made a mistake.
It was reported at that time that you had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, who, when you met him 10 years ago, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from minors. What did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
I had dinners with him. I regret doing that. He had relationships with people he said, would give to global health, which is a interest I have. Not nearly enough philanthropy goes in that direction. Those meetings were a mistake. They didn't result in what he purported, and I cut them off. That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
It was reported that you continued to meet with him over several years, and that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so in general, you always have to be careful.
Both Bill and Melinda Gates met with Epstein at his Upper East Side mansion in September of 2013. But Melinda Gates was reportedly uncomfortable with the relationship from the beginning, with her concerns dating back to 2013, according to her former Gates Foundation employee. The Epstein connection played a significant role in the Gates' divorce. Melinda Gates had been meeting with divorce lawyers since at least 2019, when Bill's links to Epstein became public. In interviews after their divorce, she described the Epstein meetings as disturbing and a factor in their marriage's breakdown. Gates has since called his relationship with Epstein a huge mistake, saying it was a huge mistake to spend time with him, to give him the credibility of being there. But the fact remains that one of the world's most powerful tech leaders maintained a relationship with a convicted sex offender for years. Beyond Gates, Epstein attended parties with Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Sergey Brin, and other tech titans. He positioned himself as a patron of science, donating millions to MIT and Harvard, while hosting elaborate dinners for Nobel Prize winners and leading researchers. The scientific philanthropy gave Epstein credibility and access to academic circles, allowing him to present himself as more than just a wealthy financier. It was sophisticated reputation laundering that helped him maintain his network even as suspicions about his behavior grew. These connections helped ensure favorable or minimal coverage of his activities for years, as many media figures had personal relationships with him. Understanding Epstein's network requires understanding how it operated. This wasn't just a social circle, it was a sophisticated system designed to provide mutual benefit to its members while facilitating Epstein's crimes. Central to the operation was Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of media mogul Robert Maxwell. While his longtime lover Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty in 2021 of the sexual trafficking of minors, she served as more than just Epstein's romantic partner. Maxwell was the social coordinator, the one who recruited victims and managed Epstein's calendar of high-profile guests. She provided a veneer of respectability to gatherings that were actually covering serious crimes. Each of Epstein's properties served a specific function in the network. The Manhattan Mansion was for elite social gatherings. The Palm Beach house was for more intimate meetings. Little St. James Island was for the most serious criminal activities, isolated from oversight. The island was especially significant because of its isolation. Visitors could only arrive by boat or plane, and Epstein controlled all access. This allowed him to engage in criminal activities with minimal risk of detection or interruption. Multiple sources have alleged that Epstein's properties were equipped with extensive surveillance systems. The recordings were blackmail gold. Were they part of an intelligence operation on behalf of the Israeli Mossad, or were they used to ensure that Epstein had a steady source of influence over powerful people? We don't know for sure. The US Justice Department released a memo on July 7, 2025, saying that there was no list and no credible evidence was found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. Whether or not blackmail was involved, the network clearly operated on mutual benefit. Epstein provided access to other powerful people, exclusive social events, and opportunities for business deals. In return, his associates provided legitimacy, protection, and continued access to elite circles. By the mid-2000s, Epstein's activities were becoming harder to hide. Local police investigations, victim testimonies, and media reports were beginning to expose the reality behind his elite social network. Trump, after being friends with Epstein for years, booted him from his club. According to reports, Trump banned Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. He was accused of hitting on an underage daughter of another member of the club. This ban reportedly occurred in the mid-2000s, around the time that Epstein's criminal activities were becoming more widely known. The timing suggests that Trump may have learned details about Epstein's behavior that made continued association way too risky. Despite mounting evidence, Epstein received an extraordinarily lenient plea deal in 2008. He pleaded guilty to minor state charges and served just 13 months in a county jail, with work release privileges that allowed him to leave for 12 hours a day. This deal was negotiated by future Trump Labor Secretary Alex Acosta, raising questions about whether political connections influenced the outcome. The plea agreement also included immunity for unnamed co-conspirators, effectively protecting Epstein's network. As Epstein's crimes became public, members of his network began to distance themselves. Trump claimed that he was not a fan of Epstein and had banned him from Mar-a-Lago. Clinton's representatives minimized their association. Prince Andrew initially denied wrongdoing before eventually settling his case. In July 2019, Epstein was finally arrested on federal sex trafficking charges, sparked widespread conspiracy theories, and ensured that many questions about his network would never be answered. His death meant that the full extent of his network's activities and who else might have been involved in his crimes would remain largely unknown. The Jeffrey Epstein case reveals how wealth and connections can provide protection from consequences, even for the most serious crimes. For decades, Epstein used his network of powerful associates to maintain legitimacy and avoid accountability. The network included some of the most powerful people in the world. While recent Justice Department investigations found, and I quote, "no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals," and I quote, "no incriminating client list," the documented relationships and activities paint a very disturbing picture of how power and privilege can shield criminal behavior. The real tragedy isn't just Epstein's crimes, it's how a system of wealth, influence, and mutual protection allowed those crimes to continue for so long. His victims deserve justice, and his network's members deserve scrutiny that, in many cases, they never received. This case serves as a reminder that in a functioning democracy, no one should be above the law, regardless of their wealth, connections, or political power. What aspects of this network do you think deserve more investigation? Let me know in the comments. If this analysis was helpful, please subscribe for more deep dives into power, corruption, accountability, finance, and much more. Thank you for watching.